To celebrate the launch of Harry Chapman's KeyShot Studio collection over at moment.co.uk, I'm sitting down for a conversation with Harry to learn a little bit more about the designer behind the profile. If you're a designer, you might know Harry from his sketching tutorials on YouTube or his popular Instagram profile where he's been putting out ideas for years. In our collaboration with Harry, we're launching 5 brand new KeyShot scenes which were curated and produced by Harry with product visualization in mind. These scenes range from traditional studio all the way up to interior in situ and give you a chance to jump inside Harry's scenes and render your products in his style. If you're interested in buying the full Harry Chapman collection, or perhaps just one scene that takes your fancy, then I'll leave the link to moment.co.uk down in the description below. You will be supporting Harry with every purchase. Right, let's jump into it. This is Behind the Profile with Harry Chapman.
I'm going to start with the same question I gave to Alex in the first collaboration. How did you find design?
So I think I've always sort of had background in fine art. We've got quite a creative family, so it's something that was always encouraged when I was at school, thankfully, and like supported, which I was really grateful for. And then as I progressed with fine art and got a bit older, sort of moved from traditional materials to creating more sort of objects and artifacts. And I guess as I was sort of looking for universities and doing some research, I found that I could actually make really beautiful objects and artifacts that actually help people as a job, and that was industrial design. So finding it was sort of complete coincidence and quite a natural journey from where I was in that world of sort of fine art. So that's how I sort of came across it.
Do you reckon that gives you... Well, I don't actually know many people that have come from fine art backgrounds. I mean, we have a furniture and product design course where I think there's more of an arts influence. But for the most part, people come from, traditional DT, physics, engineering, that kind of stuff. Does you reckon it gives you a bit of a unique angle in industrial design, your experience in fine art?
I think it can. I mean, I think it's good if it is. Like, I had that background in fine art, but I still did sort of like packaging DT at school and stuff like that, and maths. But I think that sort of extra creative side, certainly helps with the skills, with the sketching and things like that. That's how I started off. But then I think it just allows you to sort of draw inspiration from even more things. I think like different artists and art, and certainly have sort of a different eye for aesthetics. I guess sort of come naturally, I suppose. You've got that background. I found anyway. Yeah.
Can you explain your current role in the industry?
Yeah, so I'm a junior product designer at design consultancy. So I've just graduated. So this is sort of the start of my career, and my role currently spans sort of the whole spectrum of the design process. So I could be working on design thinking, sketching, the early stuff, but also get a lot of time with CAD, rendering, prototyping. So really sort of hands-on role, which is great, and getting to experience a lot, which is, I guess, what you want when you're a young designer, just getting to do a bit of everything. So it's quite good. Yeah, lots of fun.
I think you've probably got that role in the industry that I would say people dream of. People go on placement and they're looking for that consultancy role where you're doing everything. I think you probably have that job, and you're one of the very few people that have that job. You're probably in quite a fortunate position.
Yeah, it's one of the great things about Seymour Powell, where I work. They've always supported me and given me those chances to be able to experience that sort of wide range of sort of aspects of the company and different parts of the design process. So, it's a great job to have, and I love going to work every day. And I think it really helps when your sort of passion is what your job is. So,
absolutely.
So,
nothing better than that, is there really? Like for me, I don't think I've done a day's work in years because I enjoy both my jobs. And then obviously there's a lot of people that aren't that fortunate. So we have to respect it that we're in that fortunate position.
No, that's it, absolutely. And but you got a great team around you, great projects. Absolutely love the stuff that you do. It is a really fortunate position to be in. So really grateful for that.
Can you take me on your journey from I know you said you did DT, presumably was, GCSE maybe,
Oh yeah,
Pro
yeah, yeah.
Design A level. What course did you do? What uni? How did well, just the whole journey? How did you get from, let's say, sixth form to Seymour Powell?
Yeah. Yeah, so sixth form was where I started sort of doing design in my own time. I did do DT A level, but it was more sort of like 3D design, so sort
Okay.
of making stuff out of acrylic and MDF on a laser cutter. So it was quite different then to start sort of sketching and doing that sort of stuff on my own time. I found a lot of the industrial design stuff through YouTube. People like Sketch a Day, Spencer Nugent doing sort of sketching tutorials.
Yep.
And from that, started to sort of figure out where was the best place for that sort of course. So I ended up going to Loughborough from A levels, doing industrial design and technology. So sort of half and half the creative side, but then with the and technology bit, sort of grounding in electronics and mechanics and things like that. But
Yep.
overall, the more creative course there generally.
Is there anything unique about your design process? I think you do differently to your colleagues, maybe, or how you did things differently at university? Is there anything that stands out?
I think that certainly as we're in an age now where a lot of people go to digital quite quickly, I try my best to sort of, well, not try my best, but I guess what comes naturally in my head as part of my design process is using the sort of old school techniques of designing. So like the sketching, marker rendering still holds a really valuable place in my design process, which I guess for some people it might not so much anymore. But for me, and my experiences, it's always helped in those early phases. It's a bit less intimidating than going straight to digital, and having that bit of sort of, I don't know, pen on paper flair sometimes can be quite exciting for a client, or at uni like a lecturer or something. So I think that's kind of different to how a lot of people, as the technology has progressed, or rightly so, But I still quite enjoy going back and doing the old school stuff.
I want to hear your take on programs like Gravity Sketch, because I think
Yeah,
Gravity Sketch is one of, or just say VR in design, but particularly Gravity Sketch, is one of the, I think, best creations recently. It
yeah,
opens up so many new doors in the process. You're really good at paper sketching. You're good at
yeah.
Gravity Sketch too. I've seen like your videos on you using it on iPad. Now, I wanted to hear, how do you use that in your process? Because that's kind of floating the difference between you're still sketching, but now we're digital sketching.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's definitely like I think the important thing for me, I love Gravity Search and I love using it. I think it's really great and fun. But when I did a collaboration with them a few years ago. When I took it on, the really important thing for me was finding a natural place to use it in the process. I didn't just want to jam it in there
Force.
and sort of force myself to use it. I wanted to
Mm.
find a place where it was really genuinely useful. There are some parts of the process that you can't replace paper sketching with, but VR equally, I think, has its benefits over paper sketching in other parts of the process or different types of project. If you're designing large scale things, you need to be in one to one, which is what I've found, or you're designing things that might require you to sort of poly model them, or they're sort of awkward shapes. Jumping into Gravity Sketch and whipping something up that you can instantly visualize and see in 3D, it's really beneficial. We did a project at uni where we redesigned a city for sort of a 15-minute city concept, and we downloaded a 3D model of the city just in like white blocks, and then just walked through the city and was sketching all over it in VR. And in that sense, then when you can sort of get someone really excited about your idea by just giving them the headset and going, "Oh, walk through here," then at that point you can see it's really, really valuable. That one-to-one scale stuff that you can't sometimes get out there and, I mean, and experience it and have empathy for a user if you're not sort of in their shoes, I guess. And in a way,
Yep.
putting yourself in those situations can be really helpful. And I mean, you certainly couldn't sketch a city on paper and be able to communicate it properly, could you? So there is an instance where VR was probably the best thing to use, and it was. So yeah, I think it's definitely got a growing role in the process, and I wouldn't be surprised if, you know, in years to come, our jobs won't be even more sort of layered and augmented with AR, VR, XR. You know, I think that's something that's on the horizon or already happening, you know, in a lot of workspaces.
I think for me in design, especially with VR, it's very hard to have that epiphany and to show someone that epiphany, because once you see someone using it, potentially, let's just keep Gravity Sketch as an example. When you see someone using it on their YouTube channel, or see someone like you using it, or someone like Sam Gwilt using it, and see someone in their process, then it's like you have that epiphany. It's like, wow, this is incredible. But for me, teaching that, I find it very hard for students to see the light and get past that. Oh, this is fun, but
Yeah.
how am I going to use it? Whereas SolidWorks, you get that very, very quickly. You have the epiphany within the first 3 features. You're like, oh, wow, this is powerful. I can 3D model my designs.
Yeah.
Maybe VR is too engaging and too much fun in a way where it's, you know, that's very distracting at the start.
That's it. I think you've really got to give people that moment where they go, oh yeah, well, this is a no-brainer.
Yep.
Why wouldn't you use this? You know, I think that's the real thing. And I think that was the challenge for me at first, was finding that place and realizing that there's no specific place where it could slot in, but depending on the project, you know, it could be the perfect tool above anything else to help create and also like get people excited about the ideas as well. Yeah.
Well, I said, you know, I'd watched some of your videos. I actually discovered you on YouTube, which is quite rare because most people I find on Instagram nowadays, but I specifically remember because I was doing drawing teaching at NTU. And so I was researching, you know, how other people went about teaching and how they delivered classes and how they layer their content. And you were one of the people, you know, that I came across first on there.
Yeah.
Why did you get into teaching on YouTube? What got you there?
So I think it was like, as I said, when I was getting into industrial design, you know, there wasn't, especially in schools like GCSE and A level, there wasn't anything really, especially at my school, to prepare me for the sort of skills I'd need at uni and in industry, like the sketching and things like that. But I learned, you know, through YouTube, some of the creators out there, and I don't know. I guess there were times where I was sort of helping people on the course with it, you know, at uni, and I just thought, do you know, I'll just sit down and record me sketching it. I think my angle on it has always been that it's never the right way to do things. I've never tried to push that this is the one and only way to do things. I've always just said, this is how I do it. I'll share this. And then if you learn even one little thing from it, then it's been a success, and hopefully, you know, it can do that. And then in more recent videos, I've sort of set challenges and wanted to see what people can come up with and things like that. And I just want to see more people sketching and getting those skills, you know, because obviously CAD rendering is a great thing, but I think you still can't go wrong with just knowing, or at least having confidence in yourself to get sketching. So I think that's why I made those videos. Yeah.
Everything's a tool for your belt. It's not always the right tool to use. We just come back from KeyShot World this year, and Alex and Dom, two of the guest speakers, they kind of revealed that some of their best work, especially for communicating to clients, they take like the worst renders from KeyShot using like the bog standard grey background and basic materials, and they sketch over the top of it in Procreate just to put some like flair onto it, and it turns out really well. Do you encourage other people to, so just going back to YouTube, do you encourage other people to teach, any of your colleagues or anything like that? You ever ask someone?
I have said to people, they're like, you know, there's some I've met some fantastic people that sketch amazing, and say to them, oh, why don't you put out like a YouTube video? We'll see if we can put this out on socials or something. And it is really time consuming. I think that's the one thing, like making videos and stuff. And But I'd love to see more people doing it, because at the end of the day, like, it does really help people. It's how I started out, and I'd encourage anyone that can, just share the way you do it. Even I think it's more just sort of being proud of the work you do and share how you do it, and then it might help someone else, take that, adapt it, and they might find their own ways to do things. I think that's how collaboration in our community works, I guess, and why it's so great.
You've done quite well on social media, particularly as an undergraduate, and also and on YouTube in particular. Clearly, the content you're putting out there is amazing. I think you'll admit you don't put that much content out there, at least quite recently. YouTube,
No.
I looked on your profile doing the research for this, and there's like 8,000 subscribers on there, which is quite a lot of people subscribing to on YouTube. I think there's about 12 videos. So clearly the content you're putting out there, people are really gripped by. They want to see more. I wanted to ask what advice you would give to, in particular, like undergraduate designers or people new to their career. How could they better leverage social media?
Yeah, I think that if you are sort of looking to grow your social media and use that as a platform for getting your work out there, meeting new people in the community, potentially finding employers or people to work with, I think that the main thing is just like getting over that hump of getting your work out there in the first place. I think it's really hard for young designers at the moment when they go on Instagram for the first time and there are all these sort of finished, polished designers, all over the feed. And I go, oh, I can't post my work. It doesn't look like that person's work, I think just be confident in what you've done and recognize that if you're not at the level you want to be yet, the only way to get there is by practicing and working again. So I'd say just get your stuff out there and be proud of whatever level you're at, because at the end of the day, you'll get there eventually, and all you can do is keep practicing. But if you share that journey and people see the progress, I think it shows the hard work and commitment. It's all about sort of the love for design outside of the job, outside of the course, and if you can show that through an Instagram page, which is free to set up and that you can just post on whenever you want, never feel pressured to make loads of posts, but just get the stuff out there, I think, is the first step. Yeah, I think that's
Before we start talking about CAD, which I'm eager to hear your opinion on, just wanted to ask where you draw inspiration from. Any designers in particular, any platforms that you'd go to? You said earlier that when you find out, you draw inspiration from potentially more sources. Is there anything that jumps out?
Yeah, so I think art is one of my main forms of inspiration. I love artists like David Hockney, Damien Ortega, Rachel Whiteread. They all sort of have a consideration for negative space and the sort of space that surrounds us, how memories are sort of imbued in the sort of air that we occupy and things like that. And I think that is where I draw a lot of my inspiration for design, especially in my final year project. It was about thinking about space and humans and the connection between that. I draw, in terms of like actual designing, creating work, obviously draw a lot of inspiration from my peers and my colleagues, and then other sort of design agencies out there. I mean, obviously Seymour Powell have got a great history of sort of product innovation and product design, but you've got all the other agencies out there as well, in the London scene, but everywhere else. And it's great to be able to sort of openly engage with everyone on sort of social media and see what everyone else is doing. So I think it's more sort of drawing inspiration as it comes by. For me, I can't really nail it down to specifics or designs, but yeah, I'm just sort of inspired on the go. Always inspired.
Best way to do it.
Yeah.
Let's switch to CAD or digital tools. So I wanted to ask first what packages you use now. What were you introduced to at university?
Yeah, so I was introduced to SolidWorks at university, and then got taught SolidWorks Visualize, which but then was quickly introduced to KeyShot by a friend, so that became my standard throughout uni. In terms of CAD, then when I went on placement single panel, I learned how to model in Creo, and until then everything had sort of been solid body modeling, quite simple. But through the experience at single panel, I learned how to surface in Creo, and since then I've used Creo, a bit of Rhino, Blender, are all in my sort of current workflow. But I have used Autodesk Fusion 360 in the past as well. I think it's just, once you learn one CAD program, you can sort of get the basics. Another one, sort of got to be quite versatile in what you can pick up, I guess. Of course.
No right answer for it. Again, they're all tools for you about learning them all. That's great.
Everyone sort of speaks their own CAD language.
Yeah, absolutely.
You sort of just have to pick up on it, I guess. Yeah.
How did you build up your skills on KeyShot? Was that YouTube tutorials, exploration, repetition?
Yeah, so that was actually, I was introduced to KeyShot by a really good friend, Callum Beale, who's also a product designer. And at uni, we sort of formed a little group of four of us: me, Callum Beale, Lewis Teasdale, Adam Weir. And what was really good is we were really great at sort of like sharing ideas, collaborating on scenes. One of us would go, "Oh, I've built this material," send it around, learn by doing. And we had a really good sort of dynamic in being able to sort of teach each other. We'd learn something from a YouTube tutorial. Obviously, we've seen your YouTube tutorials, which are an absolute godsend during uni. But yeah, I think it's really just learn by doing. I think, say something like the material graph, I think you can only really learn it by switching stuff on and off and seeing what it does. And then you go, okay, next time I'll do that. And, just a lot of learning by doing, because we weren't taught it at uni. So it was very much just self-taught. And then further into industry, learning new things and, tips and tricks from colleagues and the right way to light things, and more about the sort of fundamentals of product photography and learning more composition, I think, as you get into industry. But so it's been quite a long journey, but a good one. Now we're here. So
and how much do you use that in your professional life?
Most days, to be honest. Most days. Quite KeyShot heavy job, I'd say, which is good.
And you enjoy it. Alex alluded, for a lot of industrial designers, it's kind of the most enjoyable bit, because aside from prototyping, it's the bit where your product comes to life. And a lot of us, especially until you end up at a big consultancy, you might not be able to prototype the real thing. So you can only make 3D prints and make them look like the real thing, whereas rendering kind of gets you there. Do you agree with that?
100%. I mean, like, design is storytelling, and if once you start getting the color and materials on it, and it starts coming to life, and you can start picturing it in the environment, and it suddenly starts to feel like everything's sort of paying off, and you can see it come to life. So absolutely, I look forward to it. It's like, it's one of the best parts of the process. It's good.
So we've done 5 scenes to go up on Moment. I wanted to ask you how you approached making those 5 scenes.
So they started off as sort of inspired by some of my favorite artists, the ones I've mentioned before. So they're very not sort of isometric, but I wanted to do something quite flat, geometric, Boolean forms in terms of the composition, but then make a pack of scenes that was very versatile. So if someone was to get the pack, it it'd have sort of something for everyone.
Yeah.
Which is why it's got sort of 2 product studios, 2 sort of abstract studios, and then the interior scene as well.
Yeah.
I really want to just make it sort of really diverse, but also like all the scenes are sort of connected in a way. They all sort of sit in the same family, which is nice. And then obviously I've used 2 of products that I designed at university. So the scenes are sort of derived from scenes that I made while I was at uni, but sort of progressed with the skills that I've learned through industry. I guess it's sort of like a level up for those scenes, but just making them really nice and versatile for people, I think, was the important thing.
Yeah, I think you've done really well creating your own identity with visuals. There's a few artists that designers where I can almost not even see the name on Instagram and I know who's done it. And I think that's really when you hit that level, it's just like having your own design language, having your own visual language. You know, even down to how much contrast someone has in an image. Like it even gets down to that thing, or the colors that they use. I think you've done really well at creating that your own language. And also, I think that you've brought that perfectly into the scenes. Then they're all got the Harry Chapman signature on them.
It was quite hard because obviously I do a lot of sketching, and if you look at sort of my socials and like the YouTube and stuff, it's mainly with sketching. So trying to bring some of that personality over to scenes is quite difficult. But with what rendering I have done and trying to bring in some of the colors from the sketches and things like that, and I think like familiar products from the sketches as well that we're using in the scenes, sort of helped as well. But I hope that people like them, which is good.
I'm sure they will. Absolutely.
Yeah.
We've taught design in CAD. It's called Behind the Profile.
Yeah.
What do you do hobby wise? Say a little bit more about you.
Lifelong Arsenal Football Club fan.
Okay.
Absolute football fan. Video games take up a lot of my time. Bit of Call of Duty, which is brilliant. A lot of music, play guitar, things like that. Yeah, I'm quite an average bloke behind the scenes. So
no, not at all.
Call of Duty, football,
Call of Duty, football, music, beer. Yeah.
London life, I think, has just consumed me recently, having just moved back there. I think just experiencing that as sort of, that's like a full-time hobby in itself, really. I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
Getting out and exploring. So that's been brilliant.
Well, that's good to hear. You've only been there recently. Like with London, it's years to kind of dive into it. You haven't scratched the surface, so
that's it. It's been a hectic few months, but a lot more to come, which is brilliant. So lots to look forward to.
Absolutely. I think we'll leave things there, Harry. I think it's given people a really nice insight into you. Obviously, you've got your own YouTube channel, and people are probably quite familiar with seeing you and hearing your voice at this point. So, but it's really good for me to sit down and talk to you. And I no doubt the studio collection is going to be a hit. I think people are going to find it really helpful, a huge boon to their process to jump inside your mind and your scenes. So yeah, it's been great collaborating with you.
No, thanks for having me. It's been a great opportunity, and as you just said, I hope that people just find it useful and can use it sort of within their process. Yeah, so hopefully everyone likes it. But thanks again. Yeah.
I really hope you enjoyed learning more about Harry, his inspirations, his journey to design, and his current role in the industry now. It's been a joy to work with Harry on this collaboration project, and I think his scenes are going to be a massive help to a lot of people who are looking to better their KeyShot product renders. Again, if you're interested in any of the Harry Chapman collection, I'll leave the link to moment.co.uk down in the description below. For now, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.